Welcome to the Greatness Garage Podcast, the place where small businesses get big answers. I'm your host, Brad Borkus, founder of Epitome Coaching and Consulting, and this is the Greatness Garage.
Welcome, everyone, back to the Greatness Garage. We're so happy you joined us here today. I'm excited. We have got Mr. Rich Hall here today. He is CEPA certified. You're going to find out what that is. He is so much wealth and knowledge. He's been in business for so long that he brings this knowledge and experience, and we're going to expect some great stories. Rich, welcome to the show. We're so happy to have you.
Man, glad to be here, Brad, and everyone listening. We're going to have a ball.
I love it. I love it. Hey, tell the garage a bit about yourself and give them the intro.
Okay, so again, my name is Rich Hall. I'm a proud dad of 3 sons, a beautiful wife, and couldn't be happier with the family. So my business journey started out years ago when I was actually working for companies and doing a lot of rapid turnarounds, rapid growth. You know, it seems like if there was a problem with the company, then I was the guy. And about 6 years ago, I said, I really enjoy doing that, but I want to do it for myself and I want to help more people.
Cool.
So I started down this path of a business advisor, and then I actually got pulled into what I would call the M&A world, or mergers and acquisitions world, by a company of wealth advisors that said, we need somebody to help our business owners get ready to be sold.
Mm-hmm.
So I became an exit planning advisor, got the certification like you talked about, and then start helping companies wherever they're at today to obtain their goal, whatever that may look like, price of the company, goals for the owners. And then magically, some of the owners have come back and said, Rich, you know more about my company than I do, and I trust you implicitly. Once we get this thing ready, I also want you to help me sell it.
Mm-hmm.
So I've actually expanded into helping sell the companies as well, and it's pretty exciting, man. It's a lot of fun, and you get to see the full spectrum from end to end. So
Yeah.
How's that, Brad?
That's good. Oh, and it's interesting too, like you look at that natural journey and kind of where we're at with a lot of businesses. I heard I was talking to a friend the other day who had mentioned they had a colleague that they knew of that had a trucking business. And they just called up one day and said, hey, yeah, I'm done. I'm closing the doors. And he's
Mhm.
like, well, and it was a successful business, right? And so it's interesting what a beautiful opportunity that you provide to help people have a transition, to allow these businesses that they've built to have another life and another generation and help more people down the road. So that's a pretty cool thing to be able to be part of. I really I like that. It's a great space. So, well,
It,
awesome.
yeah, one thing I'd add is it's a lot of fun, but most business owners have no idea of the options available to them.
Yep. Yep.
Most think of binary, buy or
Yep.
sell. There's
Yep.
a lot more out there, and we talk about those kind of things to do absolutely what's right for them and their family.
Yeah. And again, it's funny that we talk about that a lot too. It makes sense because your clients, my clients, a lot, they spend as a business owner, where is all your focus in your business? Those other
Mhm.
things that are future things, them are not part of where you're focused. Because if you take your eye off, it's a little concerning. And so until you have somebody to walk and kind of work, integrate with your daily life, what those options are, you really don't know about them. And so, yeah, you do a huge service. We love that. So that's awesome. All right, here we go, everybody. This is going to be fun, all right? So the first segment we have is called I Wish I Would Have. And that I wish I would have done, I wish I would have not have done, I wish, any of those things that show up in kind of that ability to reflect and share so everybody else can beautifully learn from your mistakes or your decisions. And so, Rich, I wish I would have. Take it away.
That's a hard one because we all look back on life and we have reflections, and we've all been, part of circumstances and et cetera. But I think for me is I wish I had done or started earlier in life actually doing what I do now.
Yeah.
And, for the reason being, and here's where I'd put the audience, is I'm wired, everyone's wired differently. Some people are high energy, some people low energy, some people early person, some people are, night people.
Yep.
Everyone's different. And but you can get caught up in your day-to-day life and perhaps in your job and get to a certain point in a certain age or whatever it is, and then look back and say, are you really being fulfilled? Is this really
Mhm.
what you want to do? And for me, I'm living that now. I wish I'd started earlier.
Yep.
And one of the things, just a sidebar, that um, uh, I actually mentor a college student.
Very
And well,
cool.
he used to be a college student. I mentored him when he was first as a freshman and didn't know life, didn't know that much about college, et cetera. And then we stayed together throughout his college years. And then about 3 months ago, he graduated, and my wife and I flew into town and actually was there in the audience and watched him graduate and met him for the first time. And
Very
it was
cool.
pretty cool. But I looked back and said, you know what? I never had anybody like that.
Yep.
I
Yep.
wish that I had done things like that younger in life. So
Yep.
my whole
Yep.
point is, you know, don't be bashful or afraid to take that leap and do the things you want to do. But the real kick is you got to stick to it.
Yep.
Do
Yep.
whatever it takes and just stick with it, and you'll have your fulfilling life. And you never know, you'll also fulfill the life of those around you as well.
Well said. And it's interesting too. Like it's funny when there's a saying that says when you're in your spot, everyone else benefits. And I think you're right. And and we get it, right? Like, a lot of us who are in the entrepreneurial space got there a lot of times not by birth. Some they just grew up in an entrepreneurial family and knew nothing better, right? That's what we are. That's what we do.
Mhm.
But I think looking at as we grow into that space and kind of go through those things of knowing what we don't want to do, I think what I hear you saying is that you wish that antenna would have been up a little more up and saying, what part of this do I like, right? What part of this
Yeah.
is where is it calling me to be? And it's interesting when I sold my distribution business, it's interesting that question is like, oh my gosh, what do you do now? What do you did this, you were committed to this for 12 years, what do you do now? And, I kind of had, like you said, I listened to my antenna that said, I love analytics. I love supporting people. I've been through this journey. Let me go help people. And I'll be darned, it just isn't the best decision I've ever made because, like, I joke to people, I hope someday I'm sitting in a call and I gotta go, that's it. That's my story, and like it's just a beautiful. I get to do everything I want till the last day, and it really is. And so let me ask this question because I think we're all in there, even in business, and I think one thing to remember is this: this isn't just saying being stuck in a 9 to 5 and going to entrepreneurship. This is also saying being in entrepreneurship and what role are we doing? I know we all kind of work together in getting owners out of that stuck place of doing everything. Like, do you
Mhm.
really want to be doing that part of? Do you really want to be doing the sales? Do you really want to be doing the implementation? Do you really want to be doing all that stuff? And really understanding what is it that makes your heart sing, even within the business, and then making that path committed, like you said, don't give up, committed to making that work so that you get to do what you love because that's going to get the most reward for everyone.
Yeah. Yes. It's most, and you brought up about the entrepreneurs and the business owners. Typically when a company is started and you've got the entrepreneurial spirit, those skill sets or those passions that you have are what really ignites the company.
Mm-hmm.
And whether it's sales or it could be engineering or operations, but after a point, as a business owner, as it's growing, you're finding out, but wait a minute, if I'm really good in sales, I got to figure out how to deliver on it.
Yep.
Or if I'm a great engineer, I've got to figure out how to work that personality of mine so I can sell better and I feel
Yep.
more comfortable generating business. What limits so many business owners is that they don't always recognize that, I really need to leverage off my strengths that I'm good at. But you
Yeah.
know what? Perhaps let's hire or bring somebody in that can do those things that I'm not good at.
Yep.
And
Yep.
just that self realization that says, you know what? It's okay, even if I'm the boss, that I can recognize there's other things I can be a lot better at. And
Yep.
I can bring other people in. And in the end of the day, that makes a company even more valuable.
Yep.
Is have you got the right people in the right spots? And in lieu of holding a company back, you actually find out that, the company even grows even more.
And you know what? And I think I love what you just said there. And I think everybody in the garage here, listen to that, rewind that, listen to it again. That is so significant to really hear and understand that connection here. And I think the one part as well to really acknowledge that we all get tripped up with is that first part you said, it's all right. I think to
Mhm.
tell ourselves that it's all right to not do everything is a really difficult thing. And I will tell you this, I went through it. Rich, I'm guaranteeing you went through it,
Yep.
right? And business, so if you're in that space, know that that is normal, but that's a sticky point that holds people in that pain of doing everything. You got to be okay to say it's all right to not be able to know it all. It's okay. It's all right to not be the best at every part of the business, and to realize that if you've got a calling within the business, which you likely do, that you being in those other areas is is less than performing of the optimum that it could be, right? And I think that's a problem too. But really just opening up and going through and knowing, because once that floodgate opens, um, then the pathway that you mentioned just, yeah, I mean, that's where you see companies take this growth like this, and also go like that, right? Where all of a sudden it just unhooked the plow and just took off.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely, man.
That's so cool. So let me ask, so when in your journey,
Mhm.
what prevented your transition? What was your plow that you think that really kind of
Um,
helped? Yeah.
you know, Circumstances happen,
Yeah.
and I was not ready to take the risk of jumping out quite yet. I had, three kids
Yeah.
to go into college. You've got a secure type of an environment,
Yeah.
which to be honest, I never had that many, and we'll get to that story in a little bit. But, the fear of the unknown is what holds a lot of people back.
hmm
And for me, I was plunged into, all right, I got to make a choice. What do I
Yeah.
want to do? Do I want to go to work for somebody else? Do I want to do really what I enjoy in the passion?
hmm
And I made that choice
Yeah.
and said, all right, man, I'm going for it. And again, what you find out if you stay in a place that you're not happy and you haven't been able to do really the things that you enjoy, a lot of business owners are that way, where they're thinking they have to do everything. It's easy to get burnt out.
Yeah.
And when you get burnt out, you don't love what you do. Well, guess what? That carries over to your family, your
Oof.
friends, your kids, your life, your health, the whole
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah.
But when you see somebody that says, man, I can't wait to get up tomorrow because
Yeah.
this is going to be a blast. I'm doing what I enjoy.
Yeah.
You got to move some of those plows out of the way for that to happen because it doesn't
Yeah.
naturally fall in. And that's what I did. And when I made the choice, it's full speed ahead, man. Can't wait
Yeah.
for the next day.
Well, and what I love, you speak of something that they say you have to, when you're looking at entrepreneurship, you have to choose, and this is not like, oh, choose the right way. It's really there's a right way for everyone that's different. You
Hmm.
have to choose the pain of stability or the pain of instability.
Yes.
And I'm not saying one's right or the other, because like for example, my wife, she's an occupational therapist and does a great job at it, and she prefers the pain of stability. Yes, there's limitations, the vacation time you got to report to, right? But she prefers that. I've got the pain of revenue and all this stuff, the instability that goes with it, but I got the freedom of. And so each of us choose our pains a little differently, but eyes wide open. accepting that, knowing that there's pain that's going to become, and like you said, you said the risk part, and I think that's the thing that we kind of are scared of risk, so we don't bring it up and truly analyze the risk and sit with it and be okay with this. Yep, it's scary. That's okay. It's scary, but you can
Yeah.
go through this. And I think once they go through that, really sitting with the risk and analyzing the risk, then you can choose your pain. But until then, you're afraid of what do they say? I prefer the devil I know versus the devil I don't. They're afraid of that one they don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, you brought up a very good point, and I'm glad you did. You've also got to be in alignment if we're assuming that the audience is married.
Yep.
You have to be
Yep.
in alignment with your family, with your
Mm,
spouse,
hmm.
because when you take that risk, it impacts everyone. And as you
Yep.
know, as a business owner, there's times when, it may be approaching midnight and you've still got a lot of work to do.
Yep. Yep.
And you need a supporting spouse that says, "Hey, I get it. It might
Yep.
have been date night, but
Yep.
we had to rearrange some things and everyone's committed," because you don't want that pressure of, I got to generate sales, I got to
Yep.
figure out how to deliver on it, I got to build this company, and oh, by the way,
Yep.
I'm
Yep.
going to get in trouble when I get home.
Yep.
And
Oh,
that alignment is so critical. I've been very fortunate. I've had it, and it sounds like you have it as well.
yep.
And just sitting down and talking it through, this is what the journey is going to look like,
Yep.
will make it a whole lot better.
And you know what what I love is in this one too. One of the things I found is that you said it, sit down with them. Don't expect them to understand it. Don't expect, but have the conversation. And really, I think what part of it is, we know what it's going to take, and in those spaces, we're asking for some grace.
Mhm.
And for that, when it's understood that the spouse is going to need to extend some grace, at least they know that they're being able to do something for you in doing that, right?
Yeah.
Versus kind of this quid pro quo or this kind of tic tac, or it's grace, and there's no way I can ever repay you for that, but I will appreciate it forever, So yeah,
Mhm.
very cool. Oh, that's awesome, 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 great one. So now we get to roll into this. You ain't gonna believe this. All right, I can't wait to hear this story. I already heard a little prenup to it. I think there's something there that's gonna to show us. So blow us away. Take the story, man.
All right. So it was a point in our life, and I'll walk through it, man, because you want to talk about a difficult time. We moved 4 times in 5 years, houses, and they were job related. And
Yep.
some of the audience, those are at least a little bit older will remember or see. So we were originally from the Atlanta area. We moved to Ohio for this little company you may have heard of called Enron. And
Oh.
30 days after we bought a house in Ohio, they canceled the project they hired me for. I was still on board doing some things, but 9 months later, they sold off that division to another company. I was named in the deal, I had to go to that company.
Huh.
And then a year later, after that, Enron calls up and says, "Hey, Rich, we want you to do what you do at the corporate office here in Houston." Well, here I was, remote office with a large company, corporate office, with one of the
Mm-hmm.
top companies blowing and going, everybody's doing fantastic, one of the best places to work. So, all right, man, we're going to Houston. And goes back to the wife thing, right? We're on the
Yep.
same page. We enjoyed what we did in Ohio and where we lived. And we moved to Houston, and 9 months later was a bankruptcy.
Oh.
And when I said earlier, we had moved 4 times in 5 years, talk about being tough on the family.
Right.
Um, we're in Houston. We didn't know anybody. We didn't have a support system. We were basically broke because you moved that many
Yeah.
times with your houses and everything else. And it was tough. But here was the thing. I was fortunate enough to have a job after with Enron after the bankruptcy, and I ran some
Oh.
technology groups, and we cobbled them some groups together. And one of my groups actually developed the solution for processing all of the electronic documents for the litigation. And in
Oh,
legal terms, it's called electronic discovery.
yep.
But we created that because nothing existed at that time to handle that kind of volume. And we had a lot of people that went on from there and developed careers in that space. They had
Hmm.
expertise because, hey, this was the biggest and most complex and that had ever happened in the history. And even at that time, while I was doing that, and imagine showing up for work, FBI agents, sidearms showing, TV cameras all over the place. I went at night for night school to get my MBA. So
Beautiful.
here I am during this environment during the day, MBA at night. I got a wife and three little kids at home, not sure what the future is going to be. And sort of going back to our theme is, you know what? You can either sort of lemons to lemonade, right? You can
Hmm.
either
Hmm.
accept the environment you're in or you can do something about it.
Yeah.
And for me, it carried me forward. I had a lot of experience from there, getting my MBA, the companies I worked with afterwards, that really also provided a lot of where I am today.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I think for me, that for the audience is, man, it was some tough times. But, here's the thing, don't be afraid that when you get caught in a difficult situation, you can do one of two things. You can be a victim of it, or you can stand up, tighten your belt, and say, you know what? I'm going to make this happen.
Yeah.
And when I talk to people that say, I'm too old, I got a family, I don't have time, go back and get an education. Listen, man, I got the education at
Yeah.
night school while dealing with FBI during the day. And if I can do it, you can do it as well.
Yeah, and I can only imagine that just the environment of, because even that too, will you work tomorrow? Will it be this? Like, I mean, if the
Oh, yeah.
instability within life has had to be unbelievable, and holy smokes. Well, and you know what? I love what you said about the victim thing, and I think that, and if we're all honest, we all have that little kind of thing where we want to be the victim. Like that shows up for all of us, right?
Mhm.
And I think, when you're trying to resist being the victim, there has to be a faith and acceptance with what's happening. And I think
Mhm.
that's the pathway to when you go from, oh my God, this is happening to me, and you kind of go, wait a second, there's a reason this happened. This is, I have faith in what I'm doing, or where I am, or that the God's going to guide me. Um, and then you can just let that all drop, and all of a sudden you can shift from a victim to being intentional about it, just like that, right? And yeah,
Yes.
I think what a cool thing what a beautiful perspective.
Yes. And, we cannot control what happened in the past.
Yep.
We can control how we react to it
Yeah.
and what we do and take it going forward. And I'm always been the one to try to encourage other people. When you're in difficult situations, a lot of people are nowadays, if they're not quite sure of the path to go down, you know what? Um, Full speed ahead.
Yep.
Sit back,
Yep.
think about what it is you want to do and what's right and the right
Yep.
thing to do, and then go for it. And it's amazing how uh, you'll learn and things happen. I always had a phrase that says, God doesn't bless a couch potato. People that get out there and get on it and make the effort, whether it's education, it's experience, or whatever, it's amazing how opportunities show up for them.
Yeah. And then I really want, and I think there's a really beautiful, powerful thing here. I want people to really understand the power in something that you're saying in full speed ahead. It's not full speed ahead recklessly. It is the fact that there's a saying that clarity is not a noun, but a verb.
Yes.
You get clarity through the action. And by taking full speed ahead, taking that action, you get the opportunity to get the clarity that you need. So full speed ahead, you're saying, go do, the clarity will come. And I,
Yes.
I, I think that's such a huge thing. And the faster, and I love full speed because the more intentional and powerful you take action, the more likely that you are going to get clarity quicker, you know?
Yeah, and great point, because if you don't, you're setting yourself up for something to happen to you. You know,
Mhm.
in other words, do you want to be in charge of your own destiny and to really try to do what's best for you, your family, the situation you want to learn? Because here's the thing, this is a crazy concept, but we know it's true because we see it. People that go to college today for a technology degree, what they studied will be obsolete before they even graduate, right? How
Yep.
insane is that with
Yep.
as much that things change?
Yep.
Well, it means we have to become comfortable with constant change.
Yep.
And for someone that's like, what do I do with my life? Where do I go? And etc. Put yourself out there, get to know
Yep.
people, meet people, learn, make that effort. And what you'll find out is that you'll become more comfortable. And when change happens to you, whether good or bad, you'll be more prepared for how to handle it than sitting back and saying, oh, I'm caught off guard and I'm a victim.
That's so well said. Yeah, I like that. And I think there's this and I think as I think there's a part that says, I get it. I get you want to feel that we all feel like that. That acknowledges that that you're not wrong for having the initial feeling, but it's when you sit and you sit in it. And that's the part that it's you got to just dump, because like it's interesting too. I saw something that said, um, take 30 days of and away from like social media and from the public and become an AI man. Like and really in AI, you can become very, very competent, and I would almost say cutting edge in 30 days. And then
Yes.
they got to be comfortable as that. Remember, in about a year, you're gonna have to do it again, because like it is
Yeah.
amazing how it's all of a sudden it flips and it flips and it flips so fast. So
Yeah. You're
yeah.
exactly right.
I love it. Wow, what a story! And I just in any of the time the Enron stuff, and myself moving down here to Houston area, hearing more of the Enron, and it's just such an interesting thing how when a large company like that collapses so fast,
Hmm.
that black hole that it creates and the chaos around it it's a beautiful place for us to watch from an entrepreneurial space to say that's sudden change. That's a complete, you're gonna 180 out of there. You got to figure out what you're gonna do. You got to scramble. And so what a crazy story. That's awesome.
Well, yeah, it was wild living through it. But
Oh, man.
here's the thing about the whole Enron thing that is so applicable even today to a lot of businesses is that, when it's a lightning rod for discussion, but when people talk about, well, what really happened, most people, 99% of the people gravitate toward financial,
Yep.
wranglings
Yep.
or
Yep.
cooking the books or whatever. That's not what brought Enron down. What brought him down was an aggressive culture of risk taking.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's so applicable to companies today,
Yep.
is that the culture of a company, if you allow it to go beyond your values, then you can catch yourself doing things that perhaps you might not would do otherwise, or you stretch the limit, or you go over. And in Enron's case, they didn't know that what they were doing was wrong
Yep.
because they had stretched that envelope so much.
Yep.
So when I walk into a company and work with a company like you do, Brad, because I know you do a lot of this, and one of the first things I look at is what's the culture of the company? Does the leadership adhere to the values of the company? Do they demonstrate those values? That becomes your culture. And in Enron's case, leadership team took a lot of risk. They were deal makers.
Yep.
A lot of times deal makers trying to make a lot of money. Well, guess what? Some of them didn't work out so well. So they took the risk of doing some financial things that eventually brought the company down.
Yep. Yep.
And I challenge business owners today, make things like culture of your company and the values of your company purposeful so that you
Every-
don't have a problem comparable.
Everybody, rewind that. Listen again. But I couldn't, if and all the work I do in values, I couldn't have said it any better. And you're right. And yeah, wow. And I never,
Cool.
I've never heard it from that standpoint. And it is so right that it is that the risk taking probably became a competition. And when they said I could take more risk for more return, and all of a sudden, yeah, oh, what a crazy thing.
Yep.
Well, what an awesome segment. All right, so the final segment that we have, and I really love this one because it's aligned intentional language, and it can be quotes, it can be things you tell yourself, it can be a value structure mantras, it can be all that stuff that really set a foundation or has guided you in your journey. Fire
Mhm.
away, Rich. What do you got?
All right, man. So this is not going to be a surprise to the audience, hopefully from what you've heard from me, but mine is always live by your values
Mm,
and never compromise, no matter what.
yeah,
And for me, it's a faith-driven uh, um, value system. But
yeah,
I'll give you an example. And here was probably it was one of the best moments in my life. Is I was an executive with a company, and my son, my middle son, was in college at the time and was in an internship. And by chance, we had an opportunity for him to come in and intern, not in my group, but in another part. So he got to work with, some VPs at the company. And then the company started going through some potential, acquisitions. And I'm like, all right, man, here we go again. But he made a comment to me that was arguably one of the most important things ever. And he said, Dad, you're the exact same person at work as you are at home. And that's very cool. And think
that,
about that. How
yeah,
awesome is that? And
wow,
he was right. I'm no different. The high energy person, the caring person, the energetic. I don't mind having hard conversations, but I'm a very genuine person where that's concerned.
yeah.
And to have him see that and make that comment to me was very cool.
The ultimate
Um,
affirmation, isn't it? Yeah,
yeah.
wow,
So, that's my thing to the audience is man, don't be afraid to live by your values and
yeah,
don't compromise. And there may be times when you put in that difficult situation, you have to make a choice.
yep,
Are you going to bend or are you
yep.
going to stand up for what's right and what your faith or your values believe in? And I would encourage you to, um, stand firm and do what you think's right.
I love that. And it's interesting in what you're saying and Greatness Garages. I want you to hear this in really a powerful thing that nothing will cause you to lose the faith of your employees or lose buy-in than hypocrisy.
Mm,
And if you create a value system that they need to live by and you don't, it will show and it'll show right away, and they will lose so much trust in you, and it will be very difficult to get it back. You have to walk through
yes.
some pretty dark avenues of mea culpas, but it's very difficult if
Hmm.
but just you live in a language. It's interesting too. When I actually sign a contract with a client, even if I'm working with the entire company, I have one line on my contract. I, the owner, agree to live and model in alignment with my values. And that's it. And so, like you're saying, it's so important. And I think that's also be saying, Rich isn't saying that it's easy to be, just stand strong. Don't. It's tough, isn't it? Sometimes, like,
Yeah.
yeah, you get this really interesting. It's funny. The good Lord says, "You want to put out values? I'm gonna say, let's see how you really trust those values, right? How can you stand by those values? And you get these opportunities to really say, are you going to live by what you say is important?
Hmm.
And if you do, the reward is fantastic. And if you don't, the consequences can be quite dire, can't they?
Yes. Well, and I'll tell you, um, a lot of business owners at first, when you talk about values and especially on the values, they'll say, "Yeah, we got them in our handbook, man. We give them out to all employees." I'm like, all right, do you promote them and do you live by them?
Yep.
And, you'll get a little uncomfortable. But here's the thing, it's about employee retention because people are saying today it's so hard to find employees, it's even harder to keep them. Well, here's the thing, the younger generations today want to be aligned and working with a company that aligns with their
Yep.
values or belief system.
Yep.
Or they may not believe completely, but they want to understand that what the company stands for, they can stand for and
Yep.
they can believe in it.
Yep.
If a company is not purposeful
Cool.
on we're going to do what we say we're going to do and these are our value system, then it's just a job.
Yep.
And that's
Yep.
why a lot of people may leave and go somewhere else. And
Yep.
if you got a retention problem, because at their point, they don't believe in the mission of the company and what they're trying to accomplish, to them
Mhm.
is a paycheck.
Yep. Yep. And
So
okay.
no, what I would argue is you really want to have a strong employee retention, a great company. Start out with your values and your culture.
Yep. Yep. Oh, I love that. And it's just, there's a lot of times I'll say it's simple, not easy, but simple. And it
Yeah.
is, it's so simple. And not only this too, the people that don't align with your values, when you live them and live them boldly and constantly, they'll naturally matriculate out. They'll leave the
Yes.
organization because it just doesn't fit. And it's not that it's wrong. It just doesn't fit with what they want. And that's okay. You would rather, allow that stuff to move on and bring the right person, attract the right person. And you got to do that by living the values too. So,
Mhm. Absolutely.
oh, well, awesome. Well, Rich, I want to first thank you so much for your insight and just your transparency and honesty and ability for all of us to learn from your experiences and grow and just and be entertained. It was a great show, man. This was a lot of fun.
Hey, it's my pleasure, Brad, and thank you for having me. And man, what you're doing is fantastic. Keep getting the word out, and let's keep helping people and trying to make a difference in people's lives.
I love it. All right, Greatness Garagers. Thank you so much for your time, and we will see you on the next episode.
Remember, action is what makes this information all worth it. If you need help figuring out what that action is, go to callwithbrad.com and we'll get some clarity and help you figure out what that should be.